You're bored, but you don't really feel like doing anything major, maybe not even leave the house. At the same time, you're done with scrolling on your phone or browsing your TV for something to watch. Well, because Ohuhu has partnered with me to bring you this video and they sent this beautiful set of new acrylic paint markers, I thought today I would share with you ideas of what you can do when you're bored at home with your paint markers. If you're not new to my channel, welcome back. If you're new, welcome. My name is Paula and let's get creative. Okay, so first, I've never used these markers before, so I had to get familiar with them. They come with extra nibs, a little Q&A manual, and 2 swatch cards, black and white backgrounds. And because I'm willing to bet you've seen someone else swatching paint markers before, I'm just gonna do this. Done, the markers have been swatched, and now I have a good reference for the colors I have. The first thing I thought I could paint that I have in my house so I wouldn't have to leave is an electronic device. But I have to be honest, even as a full-time artist, painting an expensive electronic device can be really intimidating. And what if I mess up? Or more than that, what if I don't like the design after I'm finished? So I thought a good way to start would be to paint something small. So today I'm painting my charging cube. Here's my charging cube, and because it is the one I use every day, I need to clean it up a little bit. And then I also thought I would very gently sand it to make the surface rougher for the paint to stick better. Because I have so many colors on this set, 30 to be exact, I thought for this first design, maybe it would be easier to pull out a few markers and define a color palette. My first options were these purples and yellow or just blues. I ended up going for the blues and added that yellow at the end. I'm going to keep things simple and do a floral design. I started by doing the largest element first with my lighter color, so just a circle for a flower. Then I did a bunch of leaves and lines with my darkest color, quietly celebrating how well this small nib worked. Yay! When I was painting, I discovered all of the markers have this tiny little heart on them, and I love that. Hearts everywhere is definitely my thing. Okay, carrying on with the design, more small leaves and lines with the darker blue. Then with the middle shade, I am going to add some dots to those lines so they would look a little like floral branches. I also added some tiny 5-petal flowers where I had empty spaces with my mid-tone. Again, I'm so grateful that these small nibs actually work well. I basically painted a wraparound pattern, just repeating the same 4 items on all 3 sides of my charger. But because when I was painting mine, I thought this idea would be such a wonderful gift, I left the 4th side emptier so that I could write a word or name. On mine, I wrote grateful, but imagine these with names on them to give them to your friends or family. I mean, it's always nice to know which charger is yours without a doubt. So I think it's a great gift and a really personal one because it's hand decorated and unique. You can give it to anyone because it's not something huge that they have to display in their houses. If they don't like it, they can just put it away. Last minute, I decided to decorate the top of the charger too because when it's plugged in, you see that part too. Again, same pattern. When all the blue was dried, I added yellow dots and a little bit of a white outline to all of the centers of the big flowers. And I also chose to sand and put a tiny little design on the corresponding charging cord. And here is my first idea finished, and I think it came out beautifully. I protected it with a layer of varnish. I probably should not use this canvas varnish on all of my projects, but like I said at the beginning of the video, I did not want to leave my house to buy anything. I wanted to use what I had around me. I've been using it for days now, the charger I mean, and it has not peeled at all, so that varnish worked great, I guess. Now we can move to the next idea. And I'm going to use a photo frame, but the important thing is where it came from, which I'll get to later. I first want to point out that I was super excited to paint this because paint markers are amazing on top of wood. But as soon as I took the plastic off, I realized this is just plastic. Because I was surprised by the material of the frame, I jumped in with my black marker to paint the edge and see how the paint went on it. And it went on perfectly.
but as soon as the black was down, I wanted to clean it because I was not loving it. Okay, so now I was familiar with what I was painting on, so I wiped the black marker and I also took the middle part out just to keep it from getting stained and also to get rid of that reflection from the glass as I worked. I wanted to go really colorful with this one, so I started working with my pink markers. I knew because of the info I had received from Ohuhu that these markers are really easy to blend. So I wanted to test that out, and yes, they are, because they are super juicy. It was really nice to be able to blend the colors, and another thing that I really enjoyed on the second project was that I could easily switch between the two sides of the nibs while using the same color. So it was easy for me to reach into the crevice that this frame had. I really had fun mixing the colors. I used the nibs to blend them, but I also used my fingers, mostly because I always get an impulse to use my fingers for painting. And I also tried a cotton swab for blending, just trying things to get familiar with my medium. As I did this, I got more confident with my colors, so I used very bold color combinations. I was able to put down a really bright mix. Here's the background I painted. I love the effect, but I'm not gonna lie, of course it took a little while to dry. It did not dry as fast as I'm used to with acrylics or other paint markers, but I understand these markers need to be juicy for them to be able to blend. When it dried, I was super happy of how it turned out and excited to create on top of it with all of my colors. I started to doodle on top, being super free with it, referencing flowers, using lines, hearts of course, just random mark making all along the frame. I really did have a lot of fun with this project. It was super liberating as I felt I could draw anything and use any color. Except for the white that was super milky and light, all of the other colors were very opaque and went on beautifully on top of each other. This one, even though I shaked it a lot, it was not covering anything. Oh, and I almost forgot to tell you, when starting this frame, I said the idea was not as much about painting a frame, but where I got the frame from. I really wanted to get distracted with my markers and things I already had at home, so I thought I would look for things to paint in the recycled gift stash. We all have one, right? There's all these little things that we don't really need an extra of, or that are patiently waiting for December to come around and become a white elephant gift. In all seriousness, I really think paint can really change something meh into something you absolutely love. So maybe you don't have a frame in there, but I invite you to look at those things with different eyes and see which of those things could get a paint makeover into something you or someone you love really likes. When I was happy with everything, it was actually time to paint the edge. I already knew I didn't want it to be black, so I thought I'd try the metallic colors starting with blue. Didn't love that, so I cleaned it up fast before it dried and tried the purple. For the sides being plastic, I did have to paint 2 layers to get rid of the marker marks. I tried painting both in circles and in lines, and both tried look better with the second layer on. Here's my finished frame. I loved it. Love, love, love. At that moment, I didn't know what I was going to put in it, but by the time I finished this video, I did style it on my shelves, so please wait to the end so you can see it and let me know what you think about it. Okay, idea number 4, paint a leather item, or in my case, pleather. I had this little purse that was handed to me as a favor in a party. It was full of goodies and now it was lying there empty, so I thought I would draw a character on it. I wasn't sure what to draw, so I asked in my community tab and I chose this comment, which was the first I saw actually. So I'm doing a raccoon with a strawberry. I was lucky that this thing you can pull apart and lay it flat to paint, but I had to put it back together again because I needed to have a better notion of the space I had for the raccoon and where to put it so you could see the whole thing with the purse displayed. I started to draw my design with pencil, and I had to switch pencils because the mechanical pen on top of the rough surface of the letter was giving me bad sensory issues. Ugh, the scratching, no. I don't know why I'm sketching with a pencil on this to begin with, because I had already learned that to sketch on leather, the best thing you can do is use a gel pen because you can just erase it with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. I learned this when I painted a little purse for myself on this video, which by the way, I still use a lot. Drew my little raccoon and used my brown marker to outline everything. I let it dry completely and then I erased all my pencil guidelines because I didn't want to risk not being able to do it later with the whole design painting, or removing paint by doing so. I started putting down the white, and as you can see again, it's a little bit milky. I did try to shake it and pump it a lot, but it stayed the same, which is no big deal. I can just build up the color with layering. Then I wanted to paint the brown, but as soon as I started, I realized the paint was going to take a while to dry on this plastic material too. So I had to wait until putting the next colors next to each other or they would mix. I went around doing other things while colors dried. I painted the flowers, but also got up from my desk and took care of little chores in between layers. The second layer was adding more white on the raccoon's face and belly, and I also painted a few white flowers, which I definitely like more than the colorful ones. When the white was super dry, I added the rest of the brown to the raccoon and then a third and final layer to all of the white areas. I also used the white marker to cover all of the flowers I had painted before, and here again it was really nice to have that smaller nib built right in for details. Everything was now dry, so I went in with my magenta to draw my strawberry and finally used the black paint marker to outline everything and give the raccoon its characteristic black eye patches and black lines on his little tail. To finish, I changed that strawberry from magenta to red and fixed a little bit of the bleeding that the black had over the brown. Drew the raccoon's cute little happy eyes, and after finishing the strawberry, here's my little purse. I was going to varnish it, but I tried scraping the paint with my nail and it didn't come off, so I skipped that step. Next idea, and this was the one I was most excited for. But when I thought about it, I definitely did not think about how hard it would be to film it. But here it is, and you probably guessed it. I am painting on top of this artificial plant. I got this idea because on Instagram, I followed this amazing Australian artist. Her name is Mia Pensa. I hope that's how you pronounce that. I absolutely love her work. It's gorgeous, colorful, and happy. And although I think she mostly paints tigers, I've seen her paint a lot of leaves and palm trees. And they're very colorful and full of lines. And I can't explain further than that why her work made me want to paint with my new markers on my fake plant. I didn't really have a plan for how I was going to paint it. I just jumped right in to see how the plant will do with the markers. And when I started doing it, I figured the best thing was to do lines following the printed lines from the leaves. I think at some point I may have thought about painting the leaves in their entirety, but as I started to move forward with the first one, I really did like having the natural green behind the stripes. I also started to add a few dots as I played with every color I wanted to. Like I said, I didn't really have a plan or color scheme. I was just playing around and figuring out how to do this as I did it. The more I did it, the more I came up with ways of making it work. Sometimes I would use the same color and jump from leaf to leaf to support the composition and make sure all of the leaves look nice as a whole. You can't really tell on the video, but I was always trying to see the plant together. Even when I stayed on one leaf to finish it, I had already tied it in with the leaves around it by checking how they look together. Most colors I didn't even need to do a second layer. Only for the very light pastels I went in for a second time to make the colors pop up more. Towards the end, I realized the best way to paint the leaves was by holding a piece of cardstock behind them. This would make them flatter and allowed me to draw with more precision. Also, at the very end, I decided to paint the center of all of them, and that really tied everything together. Here's the final result, and I don't know what you'll think about it, but I'm obsessed with it. I absolutely love it. I showed it to my daughter. She wasn't that impressed, but I'm like living for this fake plant now. For my last idea, I'm going to use another little fake plant I had. The second one is already obviously fake just because of the scale alone. So I thought for the second one, I would only paint the planter. So yeah, basically fifth idea is decorate your planters and pots. With the paint markers, you can decorate any type of planter actually, whether it's plastic, terracotta, or cement. The Ohuhu markers will be able to tackle this job. I wanted to keep my design super minimalistic, so I'm painting tiny colored dots in rainbow order. Basically, I'm swatching all of the markers on this one pot. Now, I know this is an incredible simple idea, but I have painted pots before, so you are welcome to check those videos out for more ideas. I will be sure to link them all below. Fair warning though, those are some of my oldest videos, so I don't know about the production on that content, but I still stand by the ideas and I think they all turned out gorgeous. I still have all of those beautiful planters, but today I wanted something very simple and elegant, so back to my dots. I love the end result, and let me show you how everything we painted together today looks as a whole. Honestly, I had to count twice because making these projects today went by so fast and they were so nice to create. I couldn't believe I've actually made 5 things. Time just flew away and I just had a great time. I love all of the results and overall it was a great experience. So I want to thank Ohuhu again for sending me these amazing markers and partnering with me to bring you this video. And before saying goodbye, let me show you how I styled all of the little things we painted today in my studio shelves. Thanks again for watching. I'm so grateful to have you here and I hope I'll see you the next Friday. Have the most wonderful day. Bye!